Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for the opportunity to present to you today. I did notice, though, in yesterday's poll that only 7% of you wanted to hear from a local speaker, and 93% of you wanted to hear from an international speaker. So for the 7% of you, I hope I don't disappoint you. And for the 93%, please close your eyes and just focus on the accent. So these are meant to be short, sharp cameos, so I'll try and get straight into it. I'll run through a little bit about the challenges that we faced and that we have to manage. Then I'll talk through our experience in balancing some of that around maintaining integrity and trust associated with being a bank. And in closing, hopefully there are one or two useful messages you can take from our experience. So over the last day and a half, we've heard a lot about the level of disruption in the market, social media, big data, new platforms, and so on. And the message is that it's no different in banking. We're living in a changing world, and the only constant is the pace of change is increasing. If you look 5 years ago, we had the traditional competitors in our space, the other banks. If you look now, a number of people on the fringe of traditional financial services are moving towards the center, which is the heart of our business. We have to worry about a whole new set of very large and capable players who are already well entrenched in the hearts and minds of you, our customers. And it's not just more of the same, it's extremely disruptive technology and innovation. So think about how big Amazon is as a global merchant, or the number of Apple IDs. We just heard 400 million, the amount of payments that they're processing, pretty incredible, and makes them pretty close to a bank already. They're also announcing a whole lot of stuff around virtual wallets, and if you've got the payment system in the handset, that's extremely worrying for banks in terms of Apple as a competitor. We also heard from Tim yesterday about the volume of Facebook users and interactions, and they have their own Facebook monetary system, Facebook credits. And Google has made huge progress with their virtual wallet, and have already applied and received banking licenses in certain countries. So in the words of Sir Ralph Norris, people need banking, not banks. We need to recognize the amount of disruptive change in our industry and react accordingly to stay relevant. So not only are the players changing, so is the pace of change. And I included this slide yesterday after some of the conversations. I thought you might find it interesting to see an example with real data of how the pace of changing is playing out in the New Zealand environment. The slide shows the various products that we've introduced over the last 25 years and their pace of adoption as measured by growth in transactions. And at the bottom right, you can see the traditional products, phone banking, ATMs, credit cards, and so on. All good, solid products still around, but certainly low growth. You can see how our customers continue to embrace FPOS, and Neil spoke about that earlier on this morning. And you can see the green line moving up there with FPOS adoption. Still huge and growing, and incidentally, New Zealand has one of the highest adoption rates of FPOS point of sale, much higher than Australia, by example. The red line's probably no surprise, as this is the adoption of our internet banking service, Fastnet Classic, which grew quickly and still continues to, up to about 65% of our 1.1 million customers use the product regularly. And in the orange, down the bottom there, you can probably just see it, is one of our least successful products, and that's text banking, which basically never took off. I guess you could argue that that's the fact that customers had to pay for that on a transaction basis, and that's because we had to pay the telco charges associated with text banking. But that's a case study for a completely separate presentation. Interestingly, if I showed checks on this chart, you'd see them declining at about 9% a year. So over the next few years, the inevitable demise of checks will happen. I said the pace of change was increasing. The line that's just appeared is the line that shows the current and extrapolated rate of adoption of our new mobile banking application. So version 1 of that's been in existence for about a year, and version 2 has been out for a couple of months. Adoption rates are just massively higher than our internet banking service, so almost 4 times higher. So the message from this is clear: we need to move faster, both to meet the competition and to meet our customers' expectations. Well, it's pretty easy to say we need to move quickly, but we're still a bank, and with that comes a huge amount of responsibility. Customers have trusted us for over 165 years, and hopefully will continue to do so in the future. We need to address the challenges of today's trends and pace of change, but still provide a rock for people's financial dreams. Security is paramount and not negotiable. Our customers expect that without question. Our balance sheet has to be solid and stable, and our customers expect quality interactions on every interaction in every channel. We need to be where and when our customers need us, and they have a very low tolerance, naturally, when we drop the ball and don't provide those services. And increasingly, they're telling us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, whenever we do that. And of course, we need to maintain the highest levels of confidentiality and integrity. The trust that we have from our customers is absolutely paramount to a bank staying in business. So that's our challenge. How do we balance the current business requirements for fast-paced change and business agility with the necessary security, integrity, and resilience that is essential for a bank to maintain its license to operate? This is the governance challenge that we face every day. So if you were hoping I was going to be able to give you some simple answers to balancing this, then I'm sorry to disappoint you. It's more of a journey than it is a particular answer. And over the past 5 years, we've tried a number of different approaches to address this challenge. We've learnt a lot, but I'm not sure there are any single magic bullets. What we do know is you need to manage the things that are under your control and drive according to the conditions. In the world of projects and enhancement requests and new business requirements, there are enough unknown problems and challenges that blindside you. You really need to make sure you don't score any own goals and that you nail the things that are under your control. A lot of this is basic stuff. For example, do you have the right level of executive sponsorship on every major project? So if you want to move quickly and have access to the right resources and understand the risks that the business is facing and make those trade-offs to meet the balance, you need to have the right people in the room. So for example, at ASB, every single major project, and a major project is anything over about $250,000, every one of those projects has an executive level sponsor. And the evidence supports that when we compromise on that, things go wrong. So coupled with this, we've done a huge amount of work in developing project managers and certifying externally project managers and business analysts, change managers, process analysts. I'd still argue that project manager competence is one of the single biggest factors influencing project outcomes, hence our desire to invest in that certification. I tend to think of governance as 2 things. Firstly, doing the right thing, and secondly, doing things right. Investment planning is about making sure you're doing the right thing, and is absolutely critical to ensure that you have the right resources and that the project is assigned the right priority. There's absolutely nothing worse than doing a project and at the end of it everyone's looking around for an owner and trying to work out why you've done it. In terms of the PMO, we've had a lot of fun with our PMO structure over the last 4 years. In that time, we've had a number of different chief executives, and they have each brought a completely different view around the level of governance and how they want the PMO to operate. We've managed at a very low level of detail at some times, so every project over $100,000 is in scope, and we've managed at a much higher level detail, so only major decisions on projects that impact multiple business areas and upwards of $1 million. So it's meant a lot of different approaches in terms of oversight, reporting, approval processes, delegated authorities, and so on. Clear message: there's a sweet spot. You really need to find the balance. You can't operate at the level where you have too much control because everything slows down and the PMO becomes a bottleneck. And clearly you can't have a situation where you've got projects firing up left, right, and center because the resource contention will kill you. So we've done a lot of experimentation around that and quite actively moved things backwards and forwards depending on the workload and issues and opportunities we have at the time. And again, we've carried out lots of experimentation with our solution delivery life cycles. We've had our fair share of waterfall versus agile debates. I heard a bit of that this morning. And we've tried highly prescriptive SDLCs all the way down to using them just as general guidelines. Where we've ended up on this is we've settled on a framework which has some standard project delivery phases, but with a few key aspects that make all the difference. The first is the process has gates, and all solutions have to go through the gates. And at that point, we ensure that we size the work correctly, have appropriate architecture, robust design, and deliver a quality product. The first gate is probably the most important, and that's where we do some active tailoring. And we do that by getting all the right people in the room right up front, and then the course that the project or initiative follows after that is based on its risk profile and the magnitude, scope, and other factors that we assess in that initial tailoring process. We have shared ownership of the SDLC across all delivery disciplines. Everybody's responsible for their own steps in that to make sure that nothing's missing. And we keep people's skin in the game by making them responsible for maintaining their piece of the SDLC. But it's not something that's totally prescriptive. It's more about getting the right people in the room and having the right conversation about the right path we follow to meet the circumstances. And clearly, if we're changing a piece of core banking code, we're going to have a very comprehensive and strict change and release process around that. When we're doing a release on a website that may be a usability change, we may skip or combine phases and move much more quickly through the whole process. So it's all about driving according to the conditions. So what would I like you to take away from this? Recognize that the level and pace of change is accelerating and that you need to be flexible and responsive to this. From our experience, there's no single magic bullet. You can't just nail an absolute answer and stick with that. You absolutely have to be flexible and drive for the conditions. Aim to be absolutely rock solid on the things that are within your control. So the easy things, executive sponsorship, project management, and business analyst capabilities, doing the right projects, doing them well according to the appropriate level of SDLC and PMO control. All those things you can manage, and you should nail them every time. But overall, in short, be flexible. It is a balancing act.